In a noisy world we pause and hear. A wiser path is becoming clear. Peaceful voices.
Welcome, my friends. Thank you for joining us. It is my great pleasure to introduce you to Jac O'Keeffe. Jac is a wonderful teacher, author, guide for those of us who are looking to restore and deepen our own natural qualities of peace, open-heartedness, clarity. And I personally have benefited from Jac's work for well over a decade. And it is very exciting to me to have joined her Association for Spiritual Integrity. All of these links and connections will be down below. And I am very grateful to have the chance to offer up to you Jac O'Keeffe. Jac, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, John. And thank you for joining us, whomever is listening today. May we offer something that is of use. May we be in service.
May we be in service. Yeah. Spreading this quality of peace in a world often filled with chaos and discomfort. And there is a way through, there's a way free that's inside.
Yes.
Always accessible.
Yes.
And in fact, often I like to start these conversations with the question of what it is that brings you invigoration to do all of this work that you've been doing. Many of our peace activists and people who tend to tune into these, they often feel overwhelmed or hopeless or have that sense of fatigue where they say, okay, that's it. I've had enough. And often when I get to speak to people who are out there making change in the world, helping with the transformation process, they usually have this sense of, oh no, this is wonderfully powerful. There's something growing. And I'm curious to know what it is for you that you would offer up to the community.
There's a little bit of a backstory to that question.
Please.
And I'm glad you asked it, actually. I do a lot of these interviews, but I haven't been asked that question before. So I like when I can put something new out there. Way back in my teens, one of the reasons that I wanted to get involved in spirituality, to teach religion as the language was in those days. And that's the reason I went and studied theology in university, theology and music. One of the reasons was I want to be an authentic religion teacher. I want to be really clear with my students what I've learned from experience and what's textbook. And I was very unhappy with our religion teacher at the age of 15. I went to the school principal to complain and say, like, she's teaching out of a textbook. She's like, this isn't okay. Like, we need to know what is authentic from her experience and what's not. And the principal of the school went, would you think of becoming a religion teacher? And I went, I wanted her to talk to her staff. And so she left me with that thought. And so I went on and with that motivation. And while I was in university studying theology, of course, you know, many things happened to make me see that religion and spirituality are extremely different. And this was about religion devoid of spirituality in university in Ireland at that time. And part of my breaking away from all things religious and spiritual was, oh, what was I doing thinking I can change the world? I can go out there and, you know, I'll be the face of authentic spirituality at 15. And I really got to see that naivete. It broke down and I was in a crumbling heap of tears. Like, oh my God, the world is like, I'm this tiny little speck of insignificance. What impact can I have? So I started getting interested in, well, what impact can I have? Actually, can I have no impact at all? On the bigger things, no, I have no impact. But where can I have impact? And so rather than kind of, you know, doing that for my life's work, when spirituality came along, it's like, oh my God, I'm outward focused and it's all inside. It's all inside. So along came the inner journey. And lo and behold, eventually, of course, how you spread that, how you serve, how you manage in the outside world, if that's informed by your spirituality, now you're in integrity. Now you're whole within yourself. But if it's not informed by your spirituality and it's this high ideal of changing the world, it's going to have minimal impact. And that's part of what oriented me towards the Association for Spiritual Integrity. That's wholly what motivated me to teach, is like, I will only teach what I know from my own experience. Only. And so I got a chance to do that, I suppose, not being bothered by numbers or publicity, or I'm like, I completely switched off from it and dialed into the inside and took the next step and took the next step. And some of them were wise and some of them were very unwise. And that was my learning curve. And when I moved into being interested in spiritual leadership and what's the culture doing, it wasn't I want to change the culture. It's not that at all. It has come from an inner movement of where I feel compassion for my culture. I feel compassion for, how we bypass, how that the culture has supported us to say the right thing rather than the honest thing.
Sure.
And I feel very strongly about promoting that honesty and setting up supports to support that honesty. How do teachers take care of their own needs? That's a huge one. Because if we don't take care of our personal needs, they get projected onto students, and that's when it gets mucky and abusive. And so, bigger scale, because the world is so much in need of peace at political levels, like may it ripple beyond spirituality into the global sector. I really feel, and I don't know if it's a blind spot or if I'm honoring my vision. I always feel like I'm honoring my vision until I go, oh, I have a little blind spot in there too.
Yeah.
Or a big blind spot in there. So at the minute, so I have to qualify it, So at the minute, what I am motivated to do is to help spiritual leaders to be better so that we can play a part in global politics in that arena. I don't see any spiritual leaders taking that step at the minute. And I do feel we need to set up the normalcy to normalize. How do you take care of your own needs? Do you have friends who are not your students? Do you have a support system if you have a blind spot? Where can you be fully human? Are you somebody who advocates certain principles, but yet you go boozing at the weekend? Like,
Yeah.
what do your students know you do that?
Yeah.
What are you hiding? What are you not hiding? And until we address that dishonesty, we're not clear and clean enough to go into the political arena, to go out there. We're not authentic enough. So our message will be, contaminated and diffused. And we will add to the lack of accountability, the lack of responsibility that is happening in global leadership right now. So I'm taking the long way around it, but for me, it feels more authentic. It's like, let's get our own ship in order before we move beyond the spiritual sector and bring spirituality to global leaders. That's the way I'm motivated. I don't get fatigued from that. I think the naivete was the thing that, if that were still in place, I would be fatigued because I would be expecting an outcome. And taking care of my own personal needs means it doesn't build up to fatigue. And if it builds up to fatigue, I know I'm not taking care of this human woman.
Yeah. Not being authentically Jac.
Not being authentically taking care of and supporting the Jac person. Yes. Yeah. So it's a long answer, but
No, it's a wonderful answer. And it opens in that direction of recognizing that in this world, bless you, in this world of extraordinary humanness and our world filled with corruption and greed and people being lost along the way. So often we find the change makers and the people that we hold up to help us find our way as a people. Very often, as soon as they're put in this position of power or wealth, that there's some kind of poison in there for them. And so they stop being authentic. So many, and of course that happened with me in my own journey and growth. You have this awakening, you want to do that, you get the bug of evangelizing, you want to help everybody. That turns into, oh, I'm a teacher. Now you're in this story. And it's so easy to be caught. And then you're injuring yourself along your own path and people around you. And we find it in the small level, we find it in the larger political level. And so to have people be authentic and go out there and to model that quality of authenticity and freedom.
That's right. And while we're modeling the opposite, you know, the ripple effect of that goes out, because the spiritual leaders are potent. Energetically, we're potent. Therefore, we are more responsible than others. How we disseminate and how we manage the impact that we can have is really important. And that's karma making. You know, we have to be accountable and responsible for that. And if we can embody responsibility and accountability, the ripple effect of that alone, even if we don't go out there, the ripple effect of that will impact the global stage. I see that happening, you know?
I agree. Yeah, even Gandhi, as an example,
yes,
he would describe these constructive programs and ways to make change at the larger level. And he described it as satyagraha, the soul force, that quality that comes from being developed and free within ourselves. That quality, that energy then is that which then heals the space around us and helps to help other people find that within themselves. And then it spreads out in a wave. And so even in Taoism here, we would call it the medicine. That quality that we cultivate from the inside, the medicine is the thing that heals us. It heals the space around us. It's not always a thing that we do, although that can be good too. But the quality that we have to share is something that comes from inside. And that's something that you personally helped guide me in the right direction as well. And so again, I thank you.
Not at all. Good. Yeah.
Do you have recommendations for the people who are listening? Of course, it's hard to issue general recommendations to the public. But again, for those people who are looking to cultivate that quality of the medicine, that healing, nurturing quality within themselves, which direction would you point them in?
Yeah, radical self-honesty. I think it starts there. Would you agree, John?
Certainly. Yeah.
Yeah. I think radical self-honesty. And that means having a look to see if you're spiritually bypassing. And spiritually bypassing is, just for anybody who's not familiar with the term, is where we use a spiritual principle or a phrase or something that we know is true in the non-dual space, in the, you know, the unified field space. In another lens of perception, it's true, but it may not apply to the human 3D illusory space. It usually doesn't. But we can grab that to place a blanket over what's going on in our humanness. And so our spiritual maturity helps us to be fully human and fully divine and beyond all of it at the same time. And at the beginning, well, for several years, you know, but it does mark the first real chunk of your spiritual path. Is like, yeah, when I meditate, maybe I can get in there. Or if I do certain things, yeah, I can get in there. And then life begins and pop, I flip-flop. I'm back out again into the me story, and I'm believing my story, and I'm in it for hours, and then I remember again. So that, yes, it's like, oh yeah, of course. This is just a story, of course. So it's like that for many years, really, for most, I think, until we develop the capacity, the bandwidth to have both. And what some do is they don't have the capacity for both, but they go into the fully awakened state, deny the humanness by using spiritual, well, it's not real, it doesn't matter. Oh, it's only a story. Actually, it needs to be fulfilled. It's a desire that needs to spin out. It's on your It's on your destiny to actually have this experience. And you're like, no, 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 it's only a story. I'm denying it. Yeah. The deeper lens of perspective will always say this is a story. But some stories you have to go through and have the experience of in order to gain the wisdom, to clear out something. That's tricky, to know what you can set aside and what experience you actually have to chew on and digest in order to be done with it. And how to know that is like, if something you keep setting aside keeps coming back, if it keeps coming back, okay. Now you got to chew it and walk into that one and see what's to be learned from it. So I'm glad you said the bug of evangelization. It is a bug. It's a virus. I'm gonna upgrade it. It's a virus, really. And there is this like copious people who come to me for support are saying, yeah, but should I teach now? I'm like, oh my God. Like, why is that the next step? What's that got to do with it? Like see the bug of evangelization. See it. Don't buy into that story. Like, see that one. But people love to because it gives them status and it gives them a new career and it's very exciting. And it's like, that's a story that's BS. That's one to let go and let life pick you up. And if life forces you to teach and you're kicking and screaming, I don't want to do it, I don't want to do it, I don't want to do it. Okay, now maybe that's really on your path, But for most, actually, it's like, get out there and see if your awakening holds fast when you're working in a coffee shop, when you're a cleaner, when you're a bus driver, when you're teaching in a school, when you're being a parent. Does it hold? Does it hold where you can be fully human and fully divine? Have you both perspectives within your bandwidth at all times?
That's right. Yeah.
That's embodiment. That's not easy. And so the bug of evangelization, that virus kicks in before the full embodiment. It kicks in before it. So it's a great avoidance.
It is. Gosh.
It is.
Yeah, that term that you used, spiritual bypassing, in our journey for this radical self-honesty that allows us to be fully human, fully ourselves. Again, to use a Taoist term, the enlightenment concept in Taoism is Dendren, to be truly human, a real person.
Yes.
And
I love that. Thank you for saying that. Yes. To be fully human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that's the medicine. The humanness is the medicine, not the detachment, not the coldness or the control. Or yeah.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that. So the development of that authenticity, that quality of vulnerability and freedom, whether it's within teachers or activists who are often acting as guides and leaders within that community. I know that within the Association for Spiritual Integrity, you've created a safe space so that people can sort of have an outlet and a network that allows teachers in that zone to feel free.
Yes.
Within the rest of the larger community, do you have recommendations that you've seen help people unblock or become free or to feel safe enough to explore that side of their vulnerable nature, their humanness?
I feel like I'm practicing it or piloting it in the ASI. Noticing like my head went, a eureka there when you said in the Taoist tradition, it's fully human. So I'm like, where my brain went was like, oh, I wonder, will I evolve into saying it's fully human? Whereas to explain the concept, I'm rooted right now in fully human, fully divine embodiment in order to kind of guide people towards what that looks like. And I look forward to when we can, recognize the Taoist perspective. It's all being fully human. So in the ASI, I noticed that there's webinars open to everybody every 6 weeks. Just go on the mailing list and you'll find out what the next one is. And we talk about kind of heated topics. The last 2 webinars were about political unrest globally and what is the role of spiritual leadership in it. And I've noticed like 5 years ago, the conversations were very stilted and students were talking more who came and the teachers were talking less. and trying to find what do I say here? I'm not in a teacher role, but I am a teacher. But they're inviting, this is a platform for me to talk from my wisdom, which is from my humanness. I'm not teaching in this role, I'm talking from my humanness. So the webinars were kind of quite stilted 5 years ago, whereas now it's like hands up, hands up, hands up, people sharing. And it's like sometimes it's, it can be from wherever, and you can spot a mile out somebody who's just sharing a teaching and their humanness isn't present. You can feel it. You can see it as like, yeah, that came from their head. That's a concept. Their body wasn't involved. Their own personal experience wasn't in there. So at least there's a platform of where we can recognize, okay, like the depth and wisdom can be felt of where a spiritual leader or anybody who's done spiritual work can marry the teachings into their own life. And the depth and wisdom of that input is so much different to somebody who's just giving a little bit of a teaching, And it's like, wow, okay, it's happening. And I suppose I like the butterfly effect, where one butterfly, the movement of their wings impacts something at the other side of the world. And it's true. I've seen it happen so many times. Yeah. And so to do it in a micro, I think, is incubating a model that can get much larger. I personally feel that I'm not ready to influence global leaders. I do have a few that I see personally in my own spiritual teaching private sessions. Yeah, I do have a few. There's like, it's beginning. It's just a little drop. But I'm not ready to talk outside of a spiritual foundation, and maybe others are. And I'm definitely interested in preparing spiritual leaders, teachers, guides, mentors to do that. Because my work is to help them to do it. Maybe I'll be doing it myself in 5 years' time if I leave the ASI and somebody else is able to take it over. So I'm seeing kind of the long term, that path could be there for me, might be there for me, might not be there for me. But I see where it's going. I can see where the butterfly effect, I can see where the impact is going to be over there as the butterfly is just coming out of the pupa. It's just beginning to stretch. And I'm like, yes, I know what I can see where it's going to be impacted.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So in one way, I suppose, I wish we were more advanced as a community of people who know that the inside is where authenticity is. I wish we were more advanced, so that we had this phase of it done, where we can integrate what we know in the inside with our normal human life. How can that become more real, so that it's not the world outside and then my spiritual time? Like, yeah, what's your spiritual practice? When somebody says that to me, I'm like, oh, you mean when I kind of sit down and I shut off the outside world? Or like the spiritual practice that is every day, that's what I work at. That's the spirituality I work at. How can my spiritual practice be, seeping through me as I wash the dishes and I sweep the floor and make my bed? And like, how, like, what level of spiritual awareness is there then? And if I can do that 24/7, then I'll be somewhat ready to talk to spiritual leaders about waking up their spirituality and going into, I suppose, to inform spiritual leaders. What I would do, I actually, it's really interesting. It's like it's coming together in my head as I speak to you, John. What kind of magic do you have? What's going on there with you? What's he doing to me?
A certain amount of tea.
Ditto. My mug is bigger than yours.
It is. Oh, man.
Yeah. Yeah, we're tea drinkers in Western Europe. Yeah. I think what I feel, and I'm only just kind of cultivating the language for it, is that so much about our world no, so much of our world is about transactions. I'll give you this, you give me this. I'll follow you and you give me. And, you know, I'll vote for you and you give me. And something about that is there's a place for it. There are transactions, of course, but it seems to have bled right through to where everything has to have a gain. Everything. And I think that's what's going on in global politics. It's all transactions. There's nothing that houses and holds relationship for its own sake. Human to human for its own sake. We wouldn't have Gaza, that horrendous genocide going on right now. We wouldn't have it if there was a place in the psyche of our leaders to hold relationship without transaction. That's missing. Spiritual leaders have a part to play with that, have a part to play. And it comes right back to like somebody who's a parent or who drives Uber. You know, it's like, okay, can I bring relationship into where there's transactions? Is it always a transaction? Can the relationship be solid and then there's a transaction on top? Or is it purely about the transaction? And if I don't get it, we're done.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know?
I do, yeah.
That's my approach for the global question at the moment. I'm sure it will mature and refine, but that's what makes sense to me.
Yeah.
What do you think, John?
I think it's a wonderful way to identify certain markers that people can use to recognize their own growth or places that they still have an opportunity to heal. That, for instance, that transactional nature, that part of our nature that is based in fear or control or some kind of unmet need that allows us to still create these circumstances. Oh, mine, you know, pull out a mug twice as big as yours. Ha! You know.
Yes, 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 yes.
That thing of
there it is. There it is.
That quality. And so if we're still experiencing that, whether as teachers or just, you know, partners in a relationship, that then there's an opportunity for us to heal. It's a space for us to look at, for us to feel better, to feel less afraid, to grow as people, whether in our spiritual practice or as leaders in the community, for those people who might be listening, that it feels like such an opportunity to introduce this concept, especially in the culture that you and I grew up in, which is very based in acquisition and status and control. And
that's right.
And when that then permeates to the levels of our leadership, even the highest possible levels, such that it becomes a virtue. Because when we see our leaders, modeling this quality of, I'm better than you because I have this, and you don't have, you will never have this if I have anything to say about it.
Yes.
And then that becomes the shaper of international dynamics and the conversations between nations. The smallest levels, like you're talking about, that butterfly effect, then working its way out to the largest levels. And if we can model those as leaders at the smallest levels, even within our own relationships, then it has to have an effect.
It will. Each of us is so potent. Outside of the polling booth, like we are extremely potent in every minute of every day. We have personal power. And it is much more potent if we use it well than we imagine.
I think so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you mentioned that the image of the pupa, the butterfly and the chrysalis, and it always reminds me of the old alchemical phrase, salve et coagula, the old Latin of first you dissolve and then you reshape. And so in the chrysalis, for people who haven't looked that up, it's worth checking out that this creature dissolves completely.
Complete mush. It's complete mush.
Amazing.
In the middle of a pupa.
Yeah. That's right. And so how do we mush, Jac?
Yes.
Teach us to
How
mush.
do we mush? How do we mush? How do we get out of our own way? How do we surrender to that exquisite gentleness inside. And it's not a one and done, it's an ongoing practice to get out of our own way, you know? And sometimes we need to surrender to somebody on the outside because we're not ready to surrender to that which is inside. But it's only a mirror. You know, it's only a mirror. You know? And I suppose linking that as well to the global peace question, like expecting somebody else, the leader that we nominate, or not nominating, but the leader that we have, the leader that we have, expecting them to do everything. It's like, do we have a micro of that in our devotional or following a spiritual leader? Is that being modeled? Is that a butterfly effect too? And may we have the wisdom within the spiritual sector to know that whatever deity it is, you know, or spiritual leader it is, you're using them as a mirror till you know that the truth is inside you, till you trust and fall into that. And be prepared to get it wrong loads of times, because that's how you grow. That's how you'll cultivate wisdom. You know? And so, like, projecting a parent, a deification on a leader, you know? And maybe we stop doing that. What would it be like for us to be adults? They're adults, we're adults. And can we, that's the aspect I wanted to pull back into the personal potency. It's like, if we give the potency and project it onto something else, spiritually, politically, what are we denying here? What are we denying? We're much more powerful. We have divine force inside us. We are extremely potent. It suits those in power to make us feel like we don't. If we buy that Kool-Aid and we feel like we don't have power, then we're supporting the system. We're supporting personal power is ours. We can give it away, we can deny it, but nobody can take it from us unless we give it to them. Nobody can take it from us, even if you're incarcerated. You know, nobody can take it from you.
Awakening as revolution.
Yes. Ooh, I like that. Yes. Yeah, no, you know, like Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, spiritual leaders bringing their, you know, embodied understanding into the political arena. That's what makes real change happen from my perspective. It's like that's what works. And each started with a very small group. And Nelson Mandela spent 20-something years in prison, 26 or something years in prison, never lost his personal power.
Amazing.
Never lost it. So there is no reason to surrender your personal power. You know, if somebody listening to this has a friend, a colleague, you know, a family member who is currently incarcerated in the US, you know, or in South America, Central America, wherever they're being shipped off to, this horrendous kidnapping.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, it is terrible. And so, like, their personal power is still intact, even though they might be incarcerated. Their personal power is still intact. You know?
Yeah. Even in the case of Master Mandela, we have the quality that he will say that this personal power developed and grew and became more a part of him in that terrible situation.
Yes,
so,
that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Existence.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. But if you fall into they're taking my personal power, then you'll get angry and bitter and just bringing toxins into your own body-mind mechanism, you know?
Mm-hmm. Ah. Mm. Yeah, may we all find ourselves in safe and peaceful conditions. As
Oh,
you and I get to talk about this, holding a cup of tea and in relative safety with people that love us,
yes,
and consistently through human history, somewhere in the world, somebody is busily losing everything.
that's
And
right.
to be able
That's
to,
right.
speaking of spiritual bypass, it's so common to sort of use some quality of seeing through the day-to-day illusion in order to be able to say, well, that's just, you know, I don't have to feel that because it's just the illusion. It's Maya at play. And
Yes.
it's not untrue, but there's
Yes.
also another truth that to our open-hearted quality to recognize that there are families being torn apart. And
Yes.
and I don't mean to traumatize people by talking about those things, but by holding that at the same time that we hold the clarity of the nature of the larger universe
Yes.
and the emptiness behind all of that.
The emptiness behind all of that. Yes.
It's
At the
all
same time.
at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah. And again, to use that a Taoist metaphor, the characters for certain like the immortals that we talk about, that the character is the person who is a mountain, that which is grounded, nothing more grounded, but touches the heavens, is in the heavens at the same time. It's the space between. And to hold that quality of being truly human encompasses both the big-heartedness that happens as we release and wear ourselves, and the clarity of the nature of being, and swinging or holding both qualities of the great emptiness and being in love with the whole world. And how do we cultivate that space? Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Gosh.
And you're doing your part, you know, and those who are writing books about the importance of that embodiment, you know, that how you show up in the world, and having conversations like this helps. This helps, you know.
Yeah.
You are doing something.
One conversation at a time.
It's always how movements start. It's one by one.
One by one.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Rosa Parks was one woman.
Amazing. Yeah.
One woman.
And she was a part of a larger groundswell of people that were planning and talking about it. And
yes.
And
so she got the timing right.
That's right.
Yeah. Unbeknownst to herself, you know, the timing was right.
Yeah.
And I do believe the timing is right for what we're speaking about, you know, for spiritual leaders to get our act together, and for people who are not called to spiritual leadership to get their act together and feel the potency of their own personal power without it being ego-based, in a perspective of honoring your humanness. You know, focus on relationship more than transaction. Where there's transactions, place a little bit of attention on the relationship at the same time. You know, these things make a huge difference, and they're very small acts. It's the one person, the one little thing, hugely potent, not to be underestimated, really. Like, they're hugely potent.
And that's what makes up a larger wave, is single droplets.
Yes.
We're part of that quality.
Yes.
And none of it has anything to do with us, but at the same time, we are making that quality available in the larger world.
Yes.
Well, and I think that answers the very first question that I had for you about how you find hope in these larger times of distress. People that I work with regularly who are, you know, up to their eyeballs in genocide or really stressing things. And in that space, it's really hard to see anything else, in part because they're looking out instead of finding how to find inside.
Yes.
But having your voice out there sharing and helping people connect and connect to themselves, connect to this larger quality of authenticity and the truth that we're seeking, because it's the truth that has power in the world. Everything else is illusory and breaks apart. That's why no regime ever lasts forever, because it tears itself apart from the inside.
Yes.
But movements based on truth and wholesomeness and interconnection, those last and become a larger and larger groundswell.
They do.
Mm-hmm.
They're
They have.
wise words. They do last.
That's that arc of justice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And you know, I'd like to know, John, where you sit around hope. I do what I do, but I don't seem to I know what's possible. And then I'm curious to see what happens. And if we're screwed and we've, you know, destroyed the planet beyond,
Could happen.
yeah, I have space for that too. You know, if the planet just gets rid of, 6 billion of us, because we're too toxic. Planet will survive and some other form of consciousness, well, the current forms of consciousness that are not human beings, it'll be their domain, to see how that evolves. That might happen. That she, yeah, as you just did there, flicks us off. That might happen. And I'm okay with that too. It's like, if I had small children, would I be okay with that? I imagine I'd find a way to work through it, but I don't have small children. So I do hold space for, for parents who say, "Ah, I don't mind, like, but being wiped out, but it's my kids. I want so much more for them, and what has my generation done to the living environment, yeah, that's something to work through, because it'll bring you into a freeze response unless okay, what do I need to do inside me? Do I need to make amends? Do I need to just be better? Do I need to let go and be curious to see what is the play of consciousness going to happen here? And I will not opt out. I will play my part, even if the play of consciousness is that, where I live goes underwater and that's the end of it. Or like, let's be real. Let's be adult about this.
Absolutely.
And there's a surrender in that, but be adult and surrender. Instead of being the child and surrender, and then of course we end up with situations like we have now politically,
But it requires that radical, that fierce honesty,
It
that quality,
does.
looking clearly with clear eyes.
Absolutely. At the layers of emotion till we get to our fears and our beliefs. And it's like, okay, this is the meat, but you got to go through your emotions first. Go through the uncomfortable stuff, sit with it and find out what's underneath? What's my belief here? What's the core fear? And it might not have anything to do with the story at the top, but by goodness, is it influencing it?
Yeah, and in this question about hope, it is true that at different qualities and layers of our own development, hope as an idea of a thought that encourages me that I can get this thing someday, that sort of passes away, and instead you become motivated more by this upswelling of compassion and love and action that comes from inside you, that you have no mental relationship with. It's the thing that happens through you. And so I feel like within traditional Buddhist training, we'll talk about there are certain qualities required that help people through phases of their meditation training. And that idea of trust or hope or faith, that thing,
Yes.
that is a thing that at first it's externally motivated.
Yes.
And I know so many activists and people around me, they're really looking for that, because they often, once they awaken to the difficulties of the world, they say, okay, I'm going to help. And then they look around and like, wow, this is a mess.
Yes.
I can't do anything. And they become unactivated. They give up very quickly.
Yes.
And so offering that in the beginning, and then recognizing that eventually through skillful means and these things, that something is released there and you find a different source.
Yeah.
And that's again, that power, that's the medicine. It heals us. It heals that quality of our mind. And I say that, of course, it sounds really easy because I also don't have kids. I'm not in a situation where somebody's trying to hurt me right now. And so this is the easy side of talking about that.
Yes.
And at the same time, to be able to find that quality inside that lets us know and to viscerally experience the quality that love and compassion, it doesn't just heal us, which it clearly does, but it also is beneficial. And if you watch those changes happen through you and around you, then that becomes the motivating force, which may be very pleasing to the mind, but it's not why it's happening. It's happening through you and to you as much as to the space around us. And so just to answer the question about how I am about hope, hope as an idea, I feel like is something that is really important medicine at a certain point. Like hearing about the Four Noble Truths in Buddhism to recognize, wow, okay, there really is a way out of this. Oh, what is this pain?
Yes.
And recognize,
Yes.
oh, there are people that got out of it. Okay,
Yes.
I can do this.
Yes.
Until eventually it's inside. And then
That's right.
Engine.
That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. I learned this stuff from you as much as anything else. I'm just playing.
No, I'm hearing it for the first time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, beautiful.
So in general, because I know that you share so much of your time and energy with the community, and I see you teaching all the time and changing directions and trying new things.
Yes.
And in all of this experience that you've had over these decades, is there that question that you wish people would ask, or that something that wells up in you that really is a useful thing for our time that we're in now that we can add on to the end of the conversation?
Oof.
No pressure, no pressure.
Yeah, yeah. Oof. I think I'd have to reiterate something I said already. You just sit with that. Something that's useful. Yeah, like I think I would offer this. Let your prayer be, help me to truly know how I am and where I am, and that I am fully human and fully divine in every moment. I think that's what underpins a lot of what we spoke about. Integrating both. And all that rolls out from that, you know? And I suppose praying for things is a magic tool. Prayer is wonderful, you know? So it's wise to pray, you know? And it can be literally a heartfelt plea, you know? Help me to recognize, to know, to feel, to understand, and to be fully human and fully divine in every moment. If we can get that, nobody can do that for anybody. You got to do that for yourself. Whatever the road is to get to that place of holding both all the time, you know, because then you're whole. You feel whole, you know. There's compassion and love from your divinity towards your humanness. There's devotion and surrender from your humanness to your divinity. Oh, and there's such a sense of belonging. Something is at home.
May we all return home.
May we all, yes, return home. Do whatever it is to know that we are home.
We are
But
home.
we have to, yeah, but it's a fair bit of a journey to recognize we are home.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah.
Jac, thank you so much.
Thank you, John. That was fun.
It's very fun. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Yay.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. And a heartfelt thank you to Jac O'Keeffe for sharing her humor, her insight, and the light of her clarity. Conversations like this invite us to slow down, to look within, and to notice what remains when we stop trying to be someone and simply allow ourselves to be. If you'd like to explore more, you can find us on YouTube at Peaceful Voices Podcast. And you're always welcome to support this work through Patreon under John Blue. Until next time, take a breath. Let the mind grow still and see what opens up when you soften